So if we take a look here, we can see that beginning in PanOS 11.0, they added this skip software version upgrade feature. And I was curious because you can see here that it says it allows you to skip up to 3 software versions. And I was like, well, not to say push it to the max, but does that mean the third one is the one, or, the one after that? So what we've got here is a firewall in AWS currently running a version we can see right here, 10.1.x, So does that mean that we will skip 10.2, we'll skip 11.0, 11.1, which is third, and is that the target? But what if we try to go directly to 11.2? And so that's really the, I guess you can say, focus of today's video. So let's get right to it. Really, we'll go to device. We would typically back up our config, etc. And we'll go down to software. And if you got Panorama managing the firewalls, then of course you need to ensure that it's on a version that's higher or equal to whatever firewall you've got. So we've got this here. Let's go ahead. We'll unselect, deselect, uncheck, whatever, all of these. And then this is just telling us, the warning about some of these that they're getting ready to show us. And this basically is showing us all. We'll hit this check now one more time just to kind of ensure that we can pull all of the latest. And we can see here we've got a litany of 11.2 versions. So there's, at the big bucket, there's about 4 steps we need to do. First, we're going to need to download that base release. So we'll find the 11.2.0, which is right here. We'll go ahead and select download, and we'll give that some time. And if it takes a bit longer while I'm talking, we'll do some trickeration so that you're not just sitting here waiting. But we actually don't need to install that version. We just need to ensure that we have it, present on our disk, in our box, etc. Because if you take a guess, with the new features, etc., there's probably some schema changes, templates and things like that. If this was Panorama, variables, whatever there is to really the XML, the skeleton, the structure of it, it's going to change a bit. And so before it gets to, that target version, it needs to kind of already know what that's going to look like. So we need to have that present. And another thing is that also, just in case, just like in Cisco, if there's something wrong, etc., it will actually still store the present image that we have installed. I think it's on disk. For somewhere in the system, I'd have to find the location. So there's a lot to plan and consider. There we go. Especially if this is, a production device. So we've got that downloaded, as we can see here. And we want to go to any of these maintenance releases. And of course, we would read the release notes and do our homework. But let's just say we're targeting, this one came out July the 7th. Let's just say we want 11.2.10-H12, which to me is 4 releases ahead. Again, we're on 10.1, we're skipping 10.2, we're skipping 11.0, we're skipping 11.1, and we want to go to 11.2. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hit download there as well. But again, in hardware, the cool thing, again, we don't have that here in this setup with the physical devices with an HA pair. It's pretty cool that you can push the downloaded image from one to the other, but you would think that because there's so many things that there's a lot of requirements that need to be maintained in sync. And I know I'm digressing from this one, but just trying to talk while the images are downloading, etc. But you, of course, are just when you hit that and push it to the peer, it's not going to install it over there. You have to manually do that. Else you will have, contention in which device is this or that, or, the master, etc. Which it does a great job at, taking care of with the HA operational commands, the HA links, etc. that you have between the two, either the physical cabling or, of course, logic through layer 3 IP addresses. So we can see from our message, we've got that there. Let's see. But this is a issue that I have seen. I have seen. Let's click task again. And I'll show a shortcut that I have found. This one would be, okay. So even if we hit check now, I think what we're going to see is 11.2.0 is going to be the only one present, even though you saw we just downloaded. Okay, cool. Sometimes this one won't show and you got to do some tricks. There's more than one way to do it, but you actually will go ahead and, you'll start the installation of this, but not reboot, and then go up here, download that one, install that one, and push it all the way through. But this is kind of our second step. We've gone ahead and downloaded our desired, version or image. So let's go ahead and click install. We get the message here, about, the future release. Of course, we just talked about how we should read the release notes. And we can see also that we're not getting any errors, any warnings. Well, there we go. There's the failed message there. All right, so let's go ahead and read it. Failed to install 11.2 software version, HA failover mode retrieved, secondary IP, which we don't have HA, successfully updated failover mode, upgrading from 10.1 to 11. Requires, a content version of 8.9.2. Okay, cool. Failed to install. So let's then go to our dynamic updates. Let's hit check now here. This firewall's been off for months. Available, but you must first update threats. So we'll come down here. We see 7.16, so let's download and install it. Also, although we're kind of, out the box, just willy-nilly testing things like this in a sandbox type environment, the recommendation definitely would be to still read the upgrade path or the recommended chain to get the vendors, their tested and their recommended approach. Because back in the day, I always say back in the day, you'd have to go to like 10.2, install, upgrade, reboot, then 11.0, and keep doing that until you get to the major release or the train of what you want. And then you, of course, directly go to the desired version. But this new feature, it's pretty cool. So there's always, improvements and things like that. All right. So let's see. This shouldn't take too much longer. Let's do a quick refresh up there. Yep, we'll try to be patient, which is, of course, a virtue. All right, I'll give it about 10 more seconds, and before hitting refresh, we'll navigate to another tab, come back, ensure that the management plane is still good. Let's make sure we're still in. All right, looks like that's not loading as well. Go ahead and clear the filter. So we'll do a 5th refresh. Let's see what we get there. All right, stuck like Chuck. Let's space there, go to our base. Oh, okay. Too many retries. All right. Again, we're in AWS, so we'll give it a few more seconds. Let's also, while we're at it, we'll just open a new tab. Because the thing about it, especially like I said, this was production. The fears is the wrong word. Concerns, I guess we could say, about what is this device doing. I definitely, which I would do here, I probably should have SSH'd in as well to have a secondary session or access in case we needed to restart the management plane instead of rebooting the full box. But let's see what we got here. Download it. 7.16. I think that's pretty much it. I don't think, we should be good. Let's see. This is, I didn't catch that. Apologies for where the camera is. Let's read that message again. All right, 8921 or greater. Okay, so yeah, let's see. Let's try that again. Again, we'll uncheck this and this. There we go. We'll install. And like I said, I haven't tried this full upgrade path. I just popped in my head about reading that one. Okay. Content version. Same thing. 8921. Do a check now. It's almost like it didn't even try. All right. And that was pretty quick to throw that message as well. Okay. Well, yeah. It's typically the application and threats, not an AV. Right, content. What this is? Oh, my bad. We didn't install it. I'm over here looking at download. Oh, I wish. Well, let me not make excuse. Let me move the camera. Like I said, you all know to each its own. Some folks will edit this out. I like to kind of troubleshoot live, so we'll keep this in. We typically only fast forward or do a quick transition if something's taking like 40 seconds, 2 minutes. But understanding that your time is definitely valuable. But sometimes when we do these type of videos, it feels more like a live stream, to be quite honest. But I do like being able to demonstrate and show sometimes the thinking or even what on the screen to the user, what it actually looks like when going through or troubleshooting something, as opposed to just trying to show always a polished version or something like that. So apologies if you just want to see like a short video. But like I said, I think overall, sometimes there's benefit to demonstrating and showing and thinking through and sharing the thought process behind some of these. So apologies for not catching that. And I'll might have to change this setup for the camera. But we should be good here in a minute. But now that we've kind of said that, this one's hanging a bit, so we'll probably come back if this doesn't finish up in the next 10 seconds or so. But like I said, try to be patient. I actually like to close that and open a new task to see this one right here, regardless of if I'm exporting a config, pushing a change, etc. Instead of keeping that first pane or dialog box open. All right, so there we go. Looks like that just completed. So we'll close here. There we go. Column that was eluding me, the currently installed. So we'll go back and try one more time. Like I said, I think this will succeed, but that's where in lies, I won't say subjectivity, but to where, you got to wonder, does that mean this or does that mean that kind of a thing when they say able to skip 3. All right, there we go. So let's see. Looking good. I don't remember when we got the error about needing to update our content to a more current one. We got through with a progress like this. I don't think we did. So of course, fingers crossed. And of course, it'll, in a typical scenario, not a typical, this is going to require a reboot, which, is going to be that last step. And then when it comes back up, just the validation checks. If this wasn't even HA pair, more so, I wouldn't really use it for virtual, but more for on-prem. Virtual, like we've seen a few times on this channel, we'd leverage something like the gateway load balancer to be able to sub-optimally, because I think there is a way, like in AWS, to move the NIC to the secondary one, detach it, change the next hop, the virtual gateway, etc. But I think the not even convergence time, but the quickest they can do that is like 30, like less than it. But it's not like just one packet drop or a second or two or sub, kind of like you could do with, any of the FHRPs from a routing perspective. But from a load balancing perspective, you can kind of get that when the health check those kind of fail. So, and again, depending on how you have those tuned, because those are manually tunable type settings there. Let's see. All right. So I think it's looking good. And typically, from my experience, I mean, this part of it, for some reason, I feel like I saw one that took almost 5 minutes. Like, it was an on-prem pair. And, me being remotely performing the upgrades from home has no dictation on when it gets to the are you ready to reboot, like, whether I was consoled in or we are consoled in or remotely accessing the console from, a different location. So I think that one, for whatever reason, I didn't, and I should have looked further into why. Okay, so we can see it's now asking us to reboot, so we will go ahead and click that. I think I said 4 steps, but maybe it's just 3. We, of course, needed to download the base image of our target, which was 11.2.0. Second, I guess second would be, or maybe a 1-A or B would be, don't install that caveat. And then second would be to install the target desired. Here we can see 11.2.10 H12. We download that one. And third would be the installation. I guess fourth is the reboot. So those would be the 4 that would be steps that would be needed. So we will wait for this to reboot. This will take about 3 to 5 minutes. It's weird because the management plane to access the login will come up and be accessible. You, of course, being able to log in before the full management plane is up. Something I ain't ever look into, but it feels weird. It's like, you gotta wait another 2 minutes. But we'll get kicked out here shortly. And like I said, even if we were to switch to, these, of course, are just going to spin before they time out. So we'll come back and log in and just close this out by showing that the new software, PanOS version, is successfully displaying there. No, I think we last did the gateway load balance configuration. I just powered this up right before the video. I don't recall what settings are here, but of course, in a production environment, we would have our reachability text, our service functions, applications, etc. And just depending on the extent of configurations, whether you're testing inbound, outbound, NAT, just depending on, not to say VLANs or sub interfaces, but downstream from the inbound direction, whatever kind of environments you got, just a litany of tests before giving the thumbs up. So we'll go ahead and wait here, and we'll be back here shortly. All right, and so that's back in play. So let's go ahead and get logged in. Probably felt like 2.5-ish minutes. That it took afterwards. I know we talked for about 2 minutes, so. Like I said, typically around 5 minutes, I would say, for the PA to kind of fully come back up online. But as we can see here shortly, that target version will be good to go. And I guess it is able to go, skip the 3 versions and land on the 4th one. It's kind of, I guess, the easiest way we can see. And we can see the software version 11.2.10-H12 is over here. And the last thing to say as well is the management of these, which sometimes can be up to a gig. Like I think lately they're like 900 megs, the file size. But you can, once you need to keep this base version, but once you don't need to roll back, you're good to go. You can come and delete these older ones as well. So, but that's all we had today. Like we said, just a hunch. Just wanted, I don't want to say proof of concept, but test out a thing that we saw in that feature that we saw for the skip software version upgrade that we had, and what set up a test scenario where we could validate does three mean skipping up to three, meaning like the third one is the one, or could you truly skip three and go one more, which is the fourth ahead of you? And we can see that that latter is the case. So thank each and every one of you again for sticking here with me. I know this, I'm just looking at it pre-edit, 25 minutes. I don't know what the finished product will be as we're the time of this recording, but like I said, I think for this one, it's a one-off kind of video. We need to leave the what we truly saw there, talk through, troubleshoot, because in a production environment, those are the kind of things that as an engineer, you may want to see that might not be right here in the feature, catch you, gotcha. And, again, you'll get support if you got it and you call. But like I said, it's cool to think through and see what that content ID, where that is, et cetera, and the whys. But I won't hold you anymore. We'll catch you on the next one. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about this one. Any other topics you want to see. Appreciate all your time. And until next time, stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Peace.